This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Wednesday, August 3rd, and today's pod is the best one yet. It's a T-Boy, Jack.
TBOY, Nick.
Jack, you know the first thing I did when I got to New York City?
What'd you do?
Got out of JFK, and I tried to find you some street juice.
The most disgusting substance on the planet.
Some say the street juice is dirty. Others say it's the elixir of life.
The corner of 14th Street and 3rd Avenue. Some great street juice right there next to the gutter.
They got the best street juice on 14th Street. Jack, what's our first story?
Abercrombie's best-selling product isn't cologne, a polo shirt, or cargo shorts.
No, Abercrombie's hopes are built upon the $100 wedding dress.
Our second story. You've probably heard that Nancy Pelosi landed yesterday in Taiwan.
So Jack and I want to talk about the most important company in the entire world.
And our third and final story, Boatsetter just raised $38 million so you can Airbnb a boat.
Aye, Jack, because Boatsetter found Airbnb's blind spot on the starboard bow.
But before we hit that wonderful mix, Nick.
A wonderful mix of stories. This mix doesn't get any better until you hear what we're about to say.
Whenever, wherever, we're meant to be together.
I'm sorry, Jack. Am I hearing the chorus of Shakira's favorite song right now?
Whenever, wherever, you sure are, Nick.
It's a great song. It also happens to be part of a major legal case in Spain.
Here's the news, Yetis. Singer-songwriter Shakira is on trial in Spain for tax evasion.
And this case, it isn't small and it isn't humble.
Shakira isn't facing a tiny little fine over there.
No, Spanish prosecutors are calling for a very big fine and 8 years of Shakira in prison.
Here's the allegation. Spain says that Shakira owes $17 million in taxes because she lived in Spain for at least 200 days in 2012, 2013, and 2014.
Shakira disagrees.
But we think Shakira's defense, it's actually hidden among her most famous lyrics.
Besties, if you listen closely to Shakira's biggest song, Shakira is innocent.
For instance, her hips don't lie.
Yeah, just read the signs of my body.
What about her bank statements, Nick?
Jack, don't you see, baby? This is perfection.
Did she know she was evading taxes?
I didn't have the slightest idea until I saw you dancing.
Nick, is Spain just being mean to Shakira?
Oh, baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad.
Yetis, Shakira hopes there are 3 certainties in life.
Death, taxes, and the judge in her case is actually a she-wolf.
Shakira, Shakira.
Shakira, Shakira.
Let's plead our 3 stories.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in the dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, Abercrombie & Fitch has a comeback plan.
And it's all based on what the bride says you're allowed to wear at her wedding this weekend.
All right, Jack, just because we're channeling the Shakira vibes in this moment as well, let me just read some words to you. New Kids on the Block had a bunch of hits. Chinese food makes me sick. Where's your head going right now?
And I like girls who wear Abercrombie & Fitch.
There you go. Remember
in the summer. In the summer,
LFO. They wrote a song about Abercrombie. That was 23 years ago, and Abercrombie wishes someone would do that again.
It was 23 years ago.
I don't want to age us, but yeah, it was 23 years ago.
Well, back in May, Abercrombie had their worst day ever. The stock dropped 30% like a crop top.
Yeah, they lowered their sales forecast. They're only expecting 2% growth, and their valuation dropped under $1 billion.
Because Abercrombie's got that brand baggage.
I can still smell the cologne, Jack. Oh, and there's the zip cargo shorts that I can't get out of my memory.
You can literally fit baggage in those cargo shorts.
And they've got that creepy ex-CEO who Hulu just did a whole documentary on.
The frosted tips are on the frosted tips.
So many frosted tips.
But Abercrombie just had their investor day, and they presented a deck of like 90 slides. One data point on one slide jumped out at us.
Yetis, this is what Jack and I found fascinating about Abercrombie & Fitch. Their women's business has grown 40% in 3 years straight.
Now, Abercrombie & Fitch is just one of the company's 5 brands, and the women's business is only half of that one brand's business.
But still, Abercrombie, they're expecting 60% growth in their women's sales just this year.
That ain't bad. And the key driver is dresses.
Specifically, one particular Abercrombie dress. What is that dress, Jack?
The best dressed guest dress.
Can you repeat that for us, Jack?
The best dressed guest dress.
There's no way you can say that 3 times.
No, I can't.
It's like they named it so that podcasters couldn't say this. Yetis, the best dressed guest is a type of dress from Abercrombie. It's a line of occasion outfits that Abercrombie created last year.
Yeah, they're for weddings, like the floral halter maxi dress.
Or, Jack, can I interest you in the keyhole halter top?
Funny timing for this best dressed guest line.
Yes.
Because we just hit a 40-year high this summer in number of weddings.
Yetis, you're going to need a pink printed dress for that Palm Beach engagement.
Also funny timing because we just hit a 40-year high in inflation.
When you head down to Palm Beach for that engagement, you're going to be able to have to afford that dress.
So at a key moment in the company's turnaround, Abercrombie has made a big bet.
A wedding dress line with an average price of $100.
Check the labels of the bridesmaids this weekend.
Yeah.
Abby's wearing Abercrombie.
That raw bar, it's all Fitch. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies wearing Abercrombie at a wedding this weekend?
You can stay the same age, or you can grow with your audience.
Yetis, when Abercrombie was at its height 15 years ago, its core customer was 15 years old. It was us.
15 years later, that core customer is now 34, actually.
It's still us. So Abercrombie, they could stick with the 15-year-old target, educate them about the Abercrombie brand, invest in them, do a whole bunch of marketing, tell them about Abercrombie.
Or Abercrombie can grow with their audience who already knows the brand from 15 years ago.
Well, Abercrombie's turnaround is based on nostalgia and that one very specific product.
The $100 wedding dress is how Abercrombie & Fitch is growing with their audience.
For our second story, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, just visited the disputed island of Taiwan.
And Taiwan happens to be home to the most powerful company in the world.
We repeat, the most powerful company in the entire world.
But first, the most awkward geographical situation on Earth involves an island the size of Maryland, 100 miles away from China.
In the next 40 seconds, Jack and I are going to explain a century of major conflict.
In 1949, Yetis, communists, led by Mao Zedong, took over mainland China. So the existing Chinese government at the time, they fled to Taiwan, a small island off the coast.
Taiwan, it is literally as small as the state of Maryland. And the people there, who are capitalists, not communists, believe that they're independent from mainland China.
Mainland China disagrees.
They do.
The People's Republic of China believes that Taiwan is part of the People's Republic of China.
So for 70 years, the Chinese capitalists have lived uncomfortably on the small island of Taiwan.
For 70 years, Taiwan has held democratic elections, governed itself, and flourished as an independent economy.
And despite being under constant threat of invasion from mainland China, Taiwan has become a powerful industrial nation.
But China has always said,
yeah,
that is our nation. Don't talk to Taiwan without our permission.
Yeah, so for 70 years, the world has awkwardly waited.
It's been tense, and that's why there's a lot of tension when the third in line to the U.S. presidency, the Speaker of the House, visits Taiwan without China's permission.
But here's the shocking thing about this tiny island nation of Taiwan. It is a 5-hour energy shot of economic vitality.
There's 24 million people who live there, which is a little less than Florida, and it packs an insane financial punch.
Jack, we're talking about the 21st biggest economy in the entire world.
It beats Poland. It beats Sweden. It beats Argentina.
Oh, and wait, Taiwan is also the 10th biggest U.S. trade partner.
But it's arguably the number one most important U.S. trade partner.
Jack, can we talk about that shiny new bike you keep sending me photos of? You're doing really well in the uphill despite the foot injury.
Sure, although they're not our most important trade partner because of the bikes.
No, that's true. But what's going on with the bikes, Jack?
Every bike that I've considered buying in the past 10 years, they're all made in Taiwan.
We're talking Schwinn, Raleigh, Specialized Sports. Where are they made?
Taiwan.
Oh, and Yetis, that iPhone that you are listening to us on right now, what's going on with the iPhone?
It's made by Foxconn, whose headquarters are in Taiwan.
But besties, it's not the wheels and it's not the iPhones. No, it is not. That is not what makes Taiwan the number one most important trade partner of the United States.
It is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation.
The old TSMC. That is why Taiwan is our most important trade partner.
TSMC is a publicly traded chip Goliath with a bunch of critical chip factories on that tiny island, which is just 100 miles away from mainland China.
You're on a roll, building up momentum. It feels like a takeaway moment. Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over in the United States?
Taiwan is home to the most important company in the world right now, which is Taiwan Semiconductor.
Yetis, last week, Jack and I were telling you about the CHIPS bill that just passed through Congress.
We're in a legs race against China.
We are.
Because everything runs on chips.
Well, Taiwan Semiconductor, they're the most powerful chip company in the entire world by far.
Get this, Taiwan produces more than half of the world's semiconductors.
Okay, and when it comes to advanced chips, like the ones that power your smartphones and military tech, 90% of those chips are made by Taiwan Semiconductor.
So the stuff we depend on depends on the chips that are probably made in Taiwan, almost definitely made by Taiwan Semiconductor.
Well, until now, Taiwan Semiconductor has been part of the friendly, independent island of Taiwan.
But if China invades Taiwan, like it's always threatened to do, that would deeply affect Taiwan Semiconductor, which would deeply affect all of us in the world economy.
Okay, so Nancy Pelosi, she's in Taiwan right now to support its democracy.
But markets are focused on the most important company in the world.
The most important company in the world is on Taiwan. And now a word about our sponsor, Robinhood.
Funny little thing about the Robinhood logo.
Okay, go look at it right now. Most people, you just see a feather. Robinhood's feather and a cap. Pretty classic.
But it also looks like something else.
If you look closer, you may see an arrow pointing up to the right.
Yeah, the Robinhood logo. Nice little Easter egg in there. It's not just a feather. It also symbolizes bullishness.
There's a little arrow in there. If markets are up or down, it's nice to be optimistic.
We always love that little detail in the Robinhood logo.
Honestly, it's all about the little things in life.
If you're not on Robinhood yet, want to get started, go to Robinhood.com/Tboy and choose your free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY. Certain limitations apply. All investments involve risk.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. By the way, Robinhood is no longer affiliated with us or this podcast.
For our third and final story, she's been gone since that summer. Actually, third story, Boatsetter. Boatsetter just raised $38 million for a fleet of 50,000 boats.
It's an Airbnb of blank because Airbnb forgot about the blank.
Oh, let's sprinkle on a little context here. Jack, Airbnb, they just reported earnings. What kind of numbers are we seeing out there?
Revenue soared by 58% compared to last year.
Airbnb's core business of home rentals is booming during this summer of revenge travel.
But we noticed another headline from Miami-based Boatsetter.
Boatsetter. It's a startup that just raised $38 million to expand its armada.
It has an armada.
It's
got Boston whalers. It's got catamarans. It's got sunskis. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, let's go with that. 23 footers, maybe a canoe or two.
I don't think they have canoes, but this is the Airbnb for boats. And it's thriving.
If it's got a stern and it's got a helm and maybe a jet ski, it's probably on Boatsetter.
Now, I booked a boat on Boatsetter for Shane's bachelor party in Austin last year.
You jumped in like T-Boy style retroactively like 2 years ago.
It was $600 for a 6-hour booking of a boat, which was big enough to comfortably fit like a dozen dudes.
Which is like 18 normal human beings.
Right. And like Airbnb, this is a theocracy. It wasn't just $600. They're like, would you like a captain for your boat?
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not going to go out there with oars.
How much more they charge you for the captain?
$200. It was, I don't think it was a horrible deal.
But Yetis, here's what Jack and I find fascinating about Boatsetter. As we looked into Boatsetter, we realized there's a formula to becoming the Airbnb of blank.
There are 3 criteria for a product category to get Airbnb-ified.
Yeah, first, you must be expensive. Second, you must require maintenance. And third, you must be barely used.
If a product category is those 3 things, then there's probably already an app to let you peer-to-peer share it.
Case in point, Swimply is the Airbnb for pools.
Turo and Getaround are the Airbnb for cars.
HipCamp and Tenter are the Airbnbs for pretty spots of land where you can camp.
Pal, it's the Airbnb for private tennis courts, Nick.
Okay, pools, cars, land, tennis courts.
Expensive.
Check.
Requires maintenance.
Check.
And let's be honest, you use it like 1% of the time.
Oh, triple check. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Boatsetter?
Airbnb should become the everything sharing app.
Yetis, in our 2020 preview pod, we predicted that Airbnb would expand from home rentals into everything rentals.
For which, though, it hasn't been granted.
Yeah, it hasn't. Like Airbnb, they've built the tech infrastructure for safe, trustworthy sharing with strangers.
Airbnb has the insurance, the ratings, and the verification to globally scale home sharing.
I mean, Jack, people trust Airbnb to let a stranger roam through their walk-in closet on any given weekend.
That's why we think it would be so easy for Airbnb to expand their business, to add a tab in the app for boats, add a tab for cars, add a tab for tennis courts. I would book a sledding hill on Airbnb.
Because Airbnb's expertise, it isn't homes, it's sharing.
That's why Airbnb should become the everything sharing app.
Jack, can you hop on a Ski-Doo and whip up the takeaways for us over there?
Abercrombie & Fitch is targeting millennials going to weddings who need a dress.
Abercrombie, they're finally growing with their audience, us.
Our second story is the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. She just visited Taiwan despite objections from Chinese officials.
Taiwan, it's home to the most important company in the world.
Our third and final story is the Airbnb for boats. Boatsetter. It's growing its communal armada.
Airbnb, why aren't you a sharing everything company yet?
Airbnb better.
Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by legendary Yeti David Croce from lovely Des Moines, Iowa.
Humans have animal pets.
But get this, animals have pets too.
According to Scientific American, some spiders have pets, and those pets are tiny frogs.
Yeah, get this. Across India, large spiders could kill these small frogs that live near them.
But instead of killing them, the spiders let the frogs hang around the house and they kind of play together.
So the big spiders look after the small frogs while the small frogs protect the big spider eggs.
Ipso facto, the big spiders keep pets, which are tiny frogs. Or is it a symbiotic relationship?
I think you're asking too many questions, Jack. We're running with the pet analogy.
Actually, the frog kind of sounds like a prisoner here.
Rabbit, let me out of here. Yetis, you look fantastic today, especially if you're the best dressed guest.
Best dressed guest yet.
So whatever wedding you're at this weekend, turn to your buddy at the reception and say, hey, HYH TBOY.
Have you had the best one yet?
If you know, you know. That's how we grow the pod.
Nick and I will see you tomorrow.
Can't wait. And before we go, congrats to Yeti's Rosalie and Kevin, who just got engaged on one knee over in Boston.
Somehow PowerPoint was involved.
We don't know how, but just turned to slide 36.
And happy birthday to Nancy Hinojosa in Los Angeles, California.
And Sophie Shue is turning 21 in Vancouver, Canada.
And to anyone else celebrating something today, make it a T-boy.
Celebrate the wins.
This is Jack. Nick and I both own stock of Airbnb and Robinhood.
And now word about our sponsor, Robinhood.
Nick and I got to know Vlad and Beju, the co-founders of Robinhood, when we worked there for 3 years.
And there's this one business principle we heard from them, and we honestly loved it.
ABL. Always be launching.
Always be launching. That's what keeps customers engaged, it keeps investors happy, and it keeps competitors kind of concerned.
Always be launching is also consistent with Robinhood's mission to democratize finance for all.
Yeah, not just stock trading, also options, crypto, spending, wallets, and more.
They're launching a lot of stuff. And that's something we heard, we saw, and we adopted.
Yeah, this week we relaunched the podcast as the best one yet and launched a video pod right here. More to come.
If you're not on Robinhood yet and want to get started, go to Robinhood.com/TBoy and choose your free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY. Certain limitations apply. All investments involve risk.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. By the way, Robinhood is no longer affiliated with us or this podcast.
Because they always ask actors what's the secret to keeping your face looking young and beautiful? And they're some wrinkle cream, blah, blah, blah. You and me are we drink seltzer all the time. What do you guys do?